In an effort to provide educational resources and assistance to our contractor customers, we'd like to welcome you to the Canadian Incident Reporting and Classification video tutorial. This video focuses on the incident reporting challenges Canadian contractors typically encounter. During this video, we will discuss why tracking injuries and illnesses is important, explain the terminology you may see and hear with regards to incident reporting, provide guidance on how to accurately track and classify work-related injuries and illnesses incurred by your company's employees, complete a step-by-step exercise on how to report your company's incidents in ISN World, and cover some additional resources available to your company. Okay, let's start by discussing why keeping injury and illness records is important. The first reason involves compliance with your province's workers' compensation requirements. Reporting requirements vary by province, but at a minimum, all workplace incidents involving treatment from a healthcare professional must be reported to workers' compensation. In most provinces, the affected worker, employer, and attending physician are required to submit written reports to workers' compensation. The next reason is to satisfy your hiring client's requirements. Your clients request that you enter work-related injuries and illnesses incurred by your company's employees in ISN World on both a quarterly and annual basis. The data you enter factors into your company's total recordable frequency, or TRF calculation, which thereby factors into your company's overall grades. Prompt and accurate entry of your data helps ensure the validity of your grades in ISN World. The next reason, trending and performance monitoring, can help your company identify common trends and sources of incidents so that you can turn a lagging or after-the-fact indicator into a leading before-the-fact indicator by taking actions to prevent those same types of incidents from occurring in the future. And once your company starts monitoring trends and performance, such as the types of injuries incurred and your total recordable frequency rate, you can then begin benchmarking. Benchmarking allows you to measure your company's performance against your industry peers, as well as against your company's previous performance. This will help you tell if the health and safety programs you've implemented are having a positive effect on your company and employees. Now that we've discussed the importance of record keeping, let's go over some basic terminology. To start off, we need to make a distinction between work-related and non-work-related incidents. When you enter your incidents in ISN World, you should only be entering those that are work-related. This means that for each injury and illness that occurs, you will need to determine whether it meets the definition of work-related. An injury or illness is considered work-related if it occurred while the employee was working and it was caused by something to do with the job performed. Now, let's take a look at a few examples. One of the most frequently asked questions regarding work-related incidents stems from motor vehicle accidents. If an employee is driving from the office to the job site, between job sites, or running errands for work purposes, an injury that occurs while doing so is considered to be work-related. If an employee is driving between home and work, an injury that occurs while doing so is not work-related. Another frequently asked question about work-related incidents stems from pre-existing medical conditions. In other words, the employee was hurt before they came to work, perhaps while skiing or doing some work around their home. If the work environment caused or contributed to the injury, it is usually considered work-related. Using our skiing example, if the employee sprained her ankle on the slopes a couple of weeks back, came back to work, and then hurt the same ankle while walking on some rough terrain out in the field, the work environment contributed to re-aggravating that ankle sprain. It would be considered a work-related injury. If signs or symptoms of an injury surface at work, but are not a result of a work-related exposure, it is generally not considered to be work-related. Again, using our skiing example, if the employee tweaked her ankle on the slopes, came to work, was sitting at her desk all day, and that ankle injury got worse, it would not be considered work-related. What she was doing at work had nothing to do with the onset of her injury. What if an employee gets hurt at a company-sponsored event? If the activity is mandatory, it is work-related. If participation is voluntary, any injuries that occur while doing so are not work-related. For example, your company might decide to have a golf event with your employees and best customers. If your employees are required to participate, any injuries that occur are considered work-related. if employees are not required to play as a condition of employment. Any injuries that occur are not considered work-related. Lastly, let's talk about what would happen if an employee slips, trips, or falls and gets injured in the parking lot, restroom, or lunchroom. If your company is responsible for maintaining the parking lot, restroom, or lunchroom, any incidents that occur there are considered work-related. If your company is not responsible for maintenance within these areas, any incidents that occur there are not work-related. For example, if your company is responsible for clearing the ice and snow off the parking lot, and your employee hurts himself walking on it, the injury is work-related. Alternatively, if your employees park in a public lot that your company has no control over, injuries that occur there are not work-related. With regards to the lunchroom or cafeteria, it is important to note that the injuries are not considered work-related if they are solely the result of an employee eating, drinking, or preparing food or drink for personal consumption. For the past few minutes, we've been talking about the differences between work-related and non-work-related incidents. Your company is only required to track and report work-related incidents. However, that doesn't negate the importance of incidents that occur on personal time. It is a good practice to encourage employees to report non-work-related injuries to their supervisor. That way the supervisor can make adjustments to the employee's job duties to minimize the chances of their work aggravating the injury. Remember, these incidents are not considered recordable unless the work they are doing makes the injury worse. An added benefit of reporting non-work-related incidents is the opportunity they provide to share lessons learned with other workers in hopes of preventing a similar occurrence. It can also offer workers a vehicle to turn an unfortunate event into a learning opportunity for their coworkers, a negative into a positive, so to speak. In doing so, it demonstrates the importance of safety both on and off the job, thus creating that interdependent culture we strive to achieve. We've mentioned the terms injury and illness a few times now. It's probably a good idea to clarify what we mean when we use these terms. Injuries are acute, that is, they result from a single event. Some examples of injuries are cuts, fractures, sprains, and insect bites. Illnesses, or occupational illnesses, are chronic. This means that they result from prolonged or repeated exposure to a hazard. Some examples of occupational illnesses are hearing loss, chemical exposure, and carpal tunnel syndrome. A couple of terms that sometimes cause confusion are reportable incidents versus recordable incidents. Reportable incidents are injuries and illnesses that must be reported to your province's workers' compensation branch. The types of incidents that must be reported vary by jurisdiction, but they are typically reported on a form specific to employers. Recordable incidents are injuries and illnesses resulting in medical treatment beyond first aid, modified or restricted duty, lost time, and/or fatality. A reportable incident may not be recordable. For example, you may have reported an incident to workers' compensation because an employee went to the doctor. However, if the doctor determined the employee didn't require treatment, work restrictions, or time away, the incident would not be considered recordable. Keep in mind, whether reportable or recordable, all incidents must be reported to the hiring client if they occur on client property. Once you've determined that an incident is recordable, you will need to classify it accordingly. Since we don't have a universal standard in Canada that is recognized across all provinces and all industries, there are several acceptable methods of classifying incidents. Since one of the main objectives of this video is to ensure contractors are correctly reporting their incidents in ISN World, we are going to focus on the classification system used by ISN World. In ISN World, your company's incidents should be placed in one of the following categories. 1. Fatality, or death of an employee. 2. Lost workday case or lost time incident, which results in the employee being away from work for at least one day beyond the day the incident occurred. This means that if an employee gets hurt and misses the remainder of the workday, but is back at work the next day, it is not considered lost time. 3. Modified or restricted duty incident, which simply means that an employee is unable to perform all or any one of their normal or routine job functions for at least one day beyond the day the incident occurred. There are two subcategories of modified duty used in ISN World. First, there is modified duty that involved medical treatment and work restrictions issued by a healthcare professional. Second, we have modified duty that did not involve medical treatment and included work restrictions assigned by the employer without guidance from a healthcare professional. Let's look at an example of these. You may have an employee who slips on a spill while walking on the shop floor and tweaks her ankle. If you send her to a doctor and the doctor issues work restrictions, the incident is classified as modified duty with medical treatment. However, if the employee doesn't want to see a doctor and you modify her regular job duties by perhaps sitting her at a desk for a couple of days to rest her ankle, it is considered modified duty without medical treatment. The last category of recordable incident is 4. Medical treatment incident. This category includes treatment by a healthcare professional. It is important for everyone to understand that just because an employee went to a doctor doesn't mean they received medical treatment. There is very specific criteria for what constitutes medical treatment and what is simply considered first aid. We'll provide more details on this in a moment. We've talked about how to properly classify your incidents. Now let's talk about how to report this information in ISN World. Your company's incident statistics should be entered in the Canada Questionnaire, Section 10, while logged into ISN World. You will report your incidents on both a quarterly and an annual basis. Let's look at an example. Let's start with your number of employee work hours, which are your company's total number of employee hours worked and figures into your company's total recordable frequency, or TRF calculation. Therefore, you will want to ensure this number is as accurate as possible. Don't sell yourself short. Be sure to include all employees who work for the company. If yours is a large company, all persons who work for the division of the company covered by the ISN World account you're looking at, and should include employees who work strictly in the office. If you do not know an employee's actual hours worked, you can estimate them. An employee working 5 days a week, about 8 hours per day, would work about 168 hours in a month. Next, we're going to enter our total number of recordable incidents. Here, you'll add up all your medical treatment incidents, modified duty incidents, lost time incidents, and fatalities. Right below this, you will see a system-calculated sum of your recordable incidents based on how you classified each incident. If these two numbers don't match, something is wrong and your data needs to be corrected. Next, we're going to classify your recordable incidents in the appropriate category. The most important thing to remember when classifying your recordable incidents is to record each incident in only one category, at the highest level of severity, in the quarter in which it first occurred. For example, you might have an employee who cut her finger, went to the doctor, and got stitches. This would be considered medical treatment. However, the doctor also issued work restrictions, requiring the employee to be on modified duty for 1 week. That single incident now fits into 2 categories, but you only want to record it in the category which is most severe, modified duty incidents. Furthermore, perhaps the incident occurred on December 30th, 2013, and the work restrictions carried over into January 2014. When you report this incident in ISN World, you'll enter it in the 4th quarter of 2013 because that is when the incident occurred. If you are unsure how to classify an incident, there are 2 pieces of reference information provided. First, if you click on any of the category names, a definition will pop up. Second, if you click any of the links that say "click here," you'll pull up a detailed flowchart to help you classify your incidents. We mentioned earlier that just because an employee went to the doctor doesn't mean he or she received medical treatment. The flowchart lists all the actions that constitute medical treatment. If the action taken by the doctor is not listed here, do not enter the incident as medical treatment. In this instance, you'll classify the incident as first aid, medical consultation. This is a good time to mention the first aid and near miss categories. First aids and near misses are not recordable incidents, and therefore do not count towards your company's total recordable frequency rate. However, it is important to track these 2 pieces of information. Tracking these types of incidents, investigating the causes, and taking corrective actions helps to correct problems before they lead to more serious incidents. Also, your clients generally look at first aid and near misses reporting as a good thing, so don't be shy about including them in ISNet World. In conclusion, we'll summarize some helpful hints to help you ensure you are entering your company's incidents accurately in ISNet World. 1. Each incident should be entered only once, at the highest level of severity, in the quarter in which it first occurred. If you enter a single incident in multiple categories, this will be considered multiple incidents and will negatively impact your total recordable frequency. 2. Be sure the employee hours you report are accurate and make sure all employees, including office personnel, are included. 3. Classify incidents following the criteria in the questionnaire and the incident classification flowchart. Remember, it is possible for an employee to see a doctor and not receive medical treatment. If an employee sees a doctor but no medical treatment was provided, record the incident as first aid. 4. If you're ever in doubt, refer to the incident classification flowchart or call ISN's customer service team. And that's what you need to know about reporting your company's injuries and illnesses in ISNet World. A couple of things to mention before we move on. First, ISN has a team of dedicated customer service representatives readily available to assist you with any questions about reporting your company's incidents in ISNet World. The customer service phone number is 1-800-976-1303. Second, if after having watched this video, you realize that you made mistakes reporting your data in the past, you can access your company's past 3 years of incident statistics on the questionnaire page. Go back and make your corrections. When you click Save, your TRF calculation will rerun, and your grades for your clients may be impacted. Finally, if your company would like additional information or guidance on incident reporting and classification, you might find the following resources helpful. 1. The Canadian Association of Petroleum Producers Guide to Health and Safety Performance Metrics Reporting. Whether your company works in the oil and gas industry or not, this document is a good resource for classifying injuries and illnesses. Other industry associations, such as the Canadian Electrical Association and the Saskatchewan Mining Association, are also good sources of information. 2. Your provincial workers' compensation branch. Though there may be some differences between workers' compensation and what your clients are looking for in ISNet World, the provincial workers' compensation websites provide plenty of useful information on reporting injuries and illnesses. Thank you for taking the time to view this video. We hope you found the information provided to be beneficial.